Adam, dude, we've made it to a bye week. So honestly, kind of relieved after what we had last week go on. To have a nice week where I can kind of chill out a little bit, just watch some games. Um, so obviously not a lot to really talk about with Tennessee. Kind of going into this. I think it's a good time to kind of reflect on how the season's been so far. Take us a little bye week here and. We're just going to reflect a little bit on that, and then of course we'll talk about some other games and stuff going on this weekend. Man, I'll let you just get right into it with some of the stuff. How you feeling so far as we make it to this bye week in the season?
Yeah, so with Tennessee going into the bye week, you and I have said it before. We kind of look forward to bye weeks personally, just because it's a time where you and I can almost not have any stress going into a Saturday, not really having any type of emotions tied into any of the games. Yeah, a
I can
nice
breathe a little
moment to
bit.
just exhale a little bit,
Yeah,
because man, especially last week with Tennessee, the way they played, dude, those are the types of games that I feel like take a few years off your life or something. You
oh,
know what I
dude.
mean?
Yeah,
But
for sure.
to be honest with you, as where Tennessee stands right now, it's exactly where I think we predicted they would be. I think as far as record, going into the first bye week, I thought we both thought at the beginning of the season that it would be very important to only have one loss under your belt at worst. For the best case scenario, that is, just having one loss going into the bye week, and that's where we are. Tennessee's 4-1. I think we've seen some really, really good things. I think we've seen some really surprising things. And on the flip side of that, unfortunately, we have seen some questionable things, some bad things, some of the historical things that happened to Tennessee teams,
Sure.
undisciplined, questionable play calling, questionable clock management. I mean, we've talked about it. But overall, I don't think we could be any happier than we are right now. The only way that we could be happier is if we would have pulled that one out against Georgia. We'd be sitting really, really pretty right now.
Yeah.
But it's a long season ahead of us, man. I mean, the way the rest of the country's playing in all conferences, you really just don't know what's going to happen, and that's the crazy thing about it. So we could be in a lot worse positions. We could be Florida. We could be South Carolina. We could have some of those records. We could have questions surrounding our entire program, like some teams do.
Right.
So I think, as a true Tennessee fan, really going into this bye week, the first bye week of the season, we will have another bye week later on. Going into this first bye week, man, I think we should all be happy. I think we should all sit back, exhale, like I said, and just kind of reflect. And that's what we're getting ready to do. Just reflect on the season that we've had this far, man. That's how I feel initially.
Yeah, man, for sure. I was gonna say I definitely agree with something you said there. As a Tennessee fan, man, if you told me before this season started that going into the bye week we would be 4-1 with a overtime loss to Georgia.
Hmm.
And then our offense was Joey Aguilar was leading the SEC in pass yards. Chris Brazzell was looking like
Dude.
he is. We had a dynamic offense like we do with the run game, three running backs who can take it at any point. And I mean, if you told me all those things, man, and with the receivers and everything we've been doing, man, I couldn't be happier. I mean, like I said, the disappointment part of the season for me so far. Um, well, I won't say disappointment. Part that we got to worry about the penalties and being undisciplined and things like that. Obviously, secondary. And it's kind of wild because some things that I feel like we were kind of hitting on before the season started. Being penalties and I know I mentioned I think the secondary and everything, and their record is exactly where we predicted it to be at. But they have surprised me. And Joey Aguilar answered questions that we had going into the season about how he would be. Um, and their offense, man, has looked much more explosive than I thought that they would be able to be at this point of the season. So um, could be happier with that, man. I mean, it's kind of hard to. I have to just say I'm happy as a Tennessee fan at this point of the year.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously the Georgia loss was disappointing and heartbreaking. So we did already have a heartbreaking loss, but at the same time, looking at it now, that's encouraging to have done what we did in that game.
Yep.
And then moving forward, I expect our secondary to improve some with some of the injuries we're going to get back. I think we've made it to this point in the season at a bye week. We're with injuries in the secondary,
Uh,
so we have to mention that. And I think we're going to see some of those players coming back from McCoy and everything that might change things a little bit. So I expect some improvement moving forward in the secondary. Um, and then really, man, good teams should improve as the season goes. So I want that, the offense to continue to be explosive, to continue to get better, eliminating some maybe drop passes, some things that we've seen there. And as far as the flags, I don't know, man. Tennessee, I would like to say I expect to not see or to see less of them, but we seem to always kind of get those a little bit. But the
yep.
last game, we did have an improvement on that. So just
Yep.
improvement, man, as the season goes. We got some tough, games ahead. But overall, I mean, I think we've got a pretty favorable schedule compared to how a lot of SEC teams got it this year,
Yeah.
moving forward. I mean, like I said, we got some games that are, I mean, Bama and Oklahoma, obviously some big time games, and no SEC team can be taken lightly going into the swamp and playing Florida, even with the year that they've been having. So there's definitely some tough teams, but I mean, man, overall, I'm optimistic with some of the games that we have left, kind of
Yep.
going into the rest of the season there. And I guess if I had to pick like a big surprising um, factor for me, man, I mean, we were kind of like optimistic with him, but Joey Aguilar has really just shown me some things like, and I mean, with what he's doing, man. So
Oh yeah.
that would have to be my factor is like him leading the SEC in pass yards at this point. So
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, watching him play has been surprising. I think that mixed in with some of the receiver play are
mhm.
probably some of my biggest surprises. But those go hand in hand. The receivers may be looking good just because of his play. So I think Joey Aguilar has definitely been the X factor for us so far this year. And I wasn't so sure that I could say that confidently before the season started. Um, Kind of touching on a couple of things that you said, I want to throw a few little things out real quick. So with the penalties, Tennessee's racked up 34 penalties so far through 5 games with 302 yards. That's a lot, man. And you did say against Mississippi State, we did kind of tone that down a little bit. Um, I was pleased with that. I was pleased with seeing us play a little bit more disciplined, especially on the road. Obviously, neither one of us were at that game, but you can imagine that it was loud with those stupid cowbells. So I mean, just it had to have been ridiculously loud. Maybe
More
not as loud as
cowbell.
that was a pretty bold shot right there, wasn't it? um, but yeah, and as far as this is one big stat that I wanted to bring up right here. And this is something that I feel like even though we really had a good defensive front last year and the year before, Tennessee really wasn't getting. If you go back and look at the stats over the past couple years, Tennessee wasn't really getting to the quarterback. Now we were putting a lot of pressure on teams and stopping the run and all that good stuff, but we really weren't getting a lot of sack totals in ball games over the past couple years. Well, that's all changed so far this year because Tennessee leads the country in sacks right now with 20 sacks through 5 games. That's incredible. We had 5 sacks alone last game. So seeing that, even though our secondary on the defensive side of the ball is lacking a little bit with the way that they're playing, plus the injuries, I think that front defensive line is making up for it big time with the way that they're playing. But aside from all that, man, yeah, got to be happy with where we're at. I said we brush over the rest of the schedule briefly and just kind of talk about it for a minute, um, and then move on. So Arkansas is our next game. Obviously, some interesting stuff's been going on with the Arkansas, and we'll brush on this next week on Tuesday's episode. Dive deep into it. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that game with the coaching changes and everything they've had recently with Sam Pittman getting fired. So you really don't know what someone else is going to bring to the table, in my opinion. I don't see them changing their entire style of play mid-season, but you never know. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with that one? It's a 4:15 game at Neyland Stadium, so that's a plus.
Yeah. No, for
And then
sure.
after that game is the big one, Bama, of course, at Bama. Um, the way that they looked against Georgia, all that good stuff. I mean, it's going to be a tough one, and I'm not so sure that after that Florida State loss week one that I would be saying the same thing now
Mm.
after they beat Georgia. So definitely going to be a crazy one there. Then the SEC play keeps continuing. Got the basketball school down there in Lexington after Bama, Kentucky, Wildcats. You and I've actually talked about potentially going to that game. It's going to take some
Yeah.
planning, but who knows? Um, I don't know how realistic it is for us to go to it, but it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Then you
Be
got
definitely cool.
Oklahoma. Things are looking a little bit different with that game too, with the questions around John Mateer, when he's going to come back, if he's going to come back. Um, Everything that I remember reading initially after they said he was going to have surgery was him projected to come back for the Tennessee game. So
Yeah.
then you got New Mexico State. It is what it is. Uh, then, like you said, man, the Swamp. That's the game I'm looking forward to the most out of any of the games left. I think the game in the Swamp against Florida. I mean, minus the Bama game, I'm looking forward to that one too. But I've said it time and time again on this
Mm.
podcast. That Florida game's always my favorite game of the year. And then we got little brother
Yeah.
Diego Pavia and the Commodores.
I think we'll know more about that after this weekend. How the
Yeah,
how
yeah,
how real is Vandy? You know what I mean?
yeah,
I'm not giving them. I mean, I'm not knocking on. We've had some higher praise for them so far this
uh-huh,
year. As the seasons went, you got to give respect where it's due. Um,
uh-huh,
but at the same time, I think this game is truly good. The South Carolina game, even though South Carolina was ranked top 10, but we we could argue that South Carolina was ranked a little high from what they should
yeah,
have been, how they have played, and their quarterback being out. So I think this was a no excuse game for Vandy to, if they win this, look out. But
yep,
at the same time, I think this will show us a little bit more about Vandy coming up. We got some more on that as it gets going. But
yeah,
yeah, overall, man, I mean, I still think that's a pretty favorable schedule compared to a lot, man. A lot of
uh-huh,
teams have just some gauntlets like out there. I
uh-huh,
mean, Florida, their schedule's terrible, and then you
yeah,
got some schools out there that just have a really really tough go for the rest of the year. So I mean, I feel like Tennessee can really put together a really good season as long as we can keep it up. Don't get caught in trap games like Arkansas. Perfect trap game when you got Bama coming up the next weekend.
oh yeah,
Um, but I do expect, and that'll be something that I'll talk about when that time comes. But don't fall into those trap games. Make sure you take care of business each week, stuff
uh-huh.
like that. So I feel
Yeah.
pretty
So
pretty good.
looking at the schedule through 5 weeks, do you still agree with our initial schedule prediction at the beginning of the season? What did we say, 10-2,
Yeah, no, I think we went 9-3 because we had
9-3? Okay.
Georgia, Bama, and in Florida.
Yep.
Um,
Okay. 9-3.
I'm gonna, I would flip it at this point to more of a 10-2 type
Leaning more.
feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like we're gonna go down there and get that one in the swamp. I might be wrong.
Gotcha.
Depending on how they play. I mean, it looks that way, and it looks like the obvious, to get that. Um, I don't want to make my prediction even with the Bama and stuff, but just over what we have left, it would be difficult to not drop one of those. I mean, we still got Vandy, we got Bama, we got Oklahoma. I mean, I know the quarterback situation is different, but some
Yeah.
some tough teams still left. But at this point, I think I would take one of those off. You know, I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just solely based on Florida's performance up until this point,
Yeah, yeah.
I would
Judging right
definitely.
now,
Yeah, that now everything's subject to change. We've got a game that we're getting ready to talk about here in a few minutes where all that could change. I mean, who knows? I don't know. Um, so yeah, but if any of them changed, between losing to Bama and losing to Florida, I feel like I would feel more comfortable at this moment changing the loss to Florida to a W, to change our initial schedule prediction. So, but yeah,
for sure.
yeah, I feel confident about it. To end this segment, just simply go Vols, man. They're looking good.
Yep.
Continue doing what you're doing.
Absolutely, man. Go Vols. Glad to be where we're at right now with the bye week. So, um, kind of getting into some games that's coming up this weekend. Not quite as many exciting and top ranked games like we had last weekend. And
Mhm.
I mean, and lived week five might go down as the greatest weekend of college football this year because,
It
well,
was
I mean, there's
crazy.
more to be played. But man, what a crazy week! All the
Yeah.
OT games and big matchups. But there are still some good games this weekend.
Hmm.
So it kind of gets us in though. I kind of want to start off, I think, just with our game of the week, mainly because there were two games that we really had a hard time deciding between on this. Um, and ultimately, the fourth and whatever podcast game of the week is going to go to Vandy at Bama. The
Yep.
reason being, I think me and you agreed to this. Man, I almost hate Florida State like lost, to Virginia in that game. I know we
Yeah.
were texting back and forth, and I was like, only thing is, if Florida State, I mean, a lot of times you do like to see upsets and stuff, but if Florida State won that, we would have a monumental matchup right now with, number three Miami. Florida State, even
Yeah.
if they stayed at eight, um, would be a top 10 matchup. I still think it's a good game, and we'll talk about that here in a minute.
Hmm.
But ultimately, Florida State lost to Virginia last week. Unranked
Yep.
team, maybe they are better than what they seem to be, but can't really give you game of the week when it dropped down like that.
Yep.
And I think it just kind of came to what our gut tells us. And
Yeah.
I mean, I felt Vandy and Bama is the game we both agreed that we're looking forward to. So let's just get right into it. Vandy at Bama. It's number 16 Vanderbilt at number 10 Bama, man. Who are you? What are your thoughts on the
Yeah.
game? Who are you predicting? What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so it's a big time game. There's no question about it. College game day is going to be there, kind of putting Vanderbilt on the national spotlight. I mean, over the past 2 years, dude, it's kind of been a wild ride for those guys. So, and I know in this on this podcast historically, especially early on, we talked a whole lot of crap about Vanderbilt, talked a whole lot of crap about Diego Pavia, and I'm not like shying away from that. I'm embracing that. I'm still going to talk crap about them.
Yep.
I do have a little more respect for them now, though, because they are having a good season and they're doing
Yeah.
what a good football team does.
Yeah.
But all that aside, man, just this game, I couldn't. It's like you said, I couldn't get this game off of my mind. I couldn't get this game out of my gut, man. It just kept popping up when I kept thinking game of the week. And even if college game day wasn't going to this game, it would still be a big time game for us, the way we feel
Yeah.
about it. Um, this game's interesting, man. You've got a quarterback at Vanderbilt that's been talking so much trash over the last season, over the off season. I thought I saw a quote from him earlier this week that said, if we play our best, or if we're going to keep it between the lines, and if we play our best in our style of ball, then it won't even be close. Talking
Yeah.
about the game
I've
against
seen
Bama.
something about that. Yeah.
I mean,
Pump the
you know,
brakes a little bit.
yeah, and it's,
Yeah.
but I mean, if dude keeps backing up all this crap that he talks, then kudos to him.
It's
Um,
working. It's
yeah,
working.
it's
So,
it's working, but you
yeah.
don't. I feel like you don't want to say something like that to a team or about a team that just beat the big dogs,
Yeah.
Georgia. Um, but anyway, as far as this game's concerned, man, Bama is a 10.5 point favorite at home against Vandy. So looking at some of their statistics, I mean, I'm not going to rattle off a bunch of them, but Bama's averaging 38 points a game. Vanderbilt's averaging 49 points a game. I do think, minus the Georgia game for Bama, that Vanderbilt has played the tougher schedule to this point. Personally, I think they've got a win over Virginia Tech, which doesn't look that great now, but then they've got South Carolina that they beat, and well, maybe they haven't had the tougher. I mean,
Yeah.
regardless,
I got you.
maybe
Well, so,
Alabama has had the tougher games just because
yeah.
of the Georgia game. How about that?
Yeah. Florida State,
Um,
Georgia.
but yeah, Vanderbilt's undefeated, man. Um,
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's undefeated. Alabama's not. You can say what you want about it, but it's just the reality of the situation. Vanderbilt's currently sitting second in the SEC. That's just because they've got one. They're 1-0 in the SEC. But I don't know, man. I'm just curious to see how all the talk from Diego Pavia is going to play out on the field. because
Yeah.
Bama seems to have a ton of momentum going into this game, a ton of momentum.
Yeah, man. And honestly, before this Georgia game, we both were guilty of overlooking Bama a little bit. I think
Yep,
I kind of picked up they were playing these smaller schools better than what it seemed like they would have after Florida State. So I was starting, and then Florida State was doing well. So I was
yep.
kind of like questioning it a little bit. Um, but before the Georgia game with Bama, I would have thought that I really might have even been more tempted to even predict Vandy at this point. But Bama going into Georgia and doing what they did, man, I mean, that changes a lot of things for me. They're coming in with that momentum. Um, I will take a minute to just brag on Vandy some though. As a Vanderbilt fan, if you were someone who I'm not obviously, but if you were a Vanderbilt fan, you have to be ecstatic, at this point of the season.
Oh yeah,
5-0. South Carolina, should they have been ranked as high as they were? Probably not. Did their quarterback go out that game? Yeah, but they beat a ranked team at the time, like they did with South Carolina, and they handled these teams, man. I mean, they
yeah,
have. That's the thing. It's not even been like they've been in some real. They've had some close moments throughout the game, but then by the end of it, they've taken off and won these games. Vanderbilt
oh
hasn't
yeah.
really came close to losing yet, so got to give them their flowers there on that. And he
Yep.
keeps talking, keeps backing it up. I'll just make a prediction on this.
Go for it.
If you're with not really predicting a score here exactly, but the way Bama went into Georgia and did what they did, having the momentum and it being at Bama, though, I will say I think Vandy, I think Pavia gets humbled a little bit in this game, um, and I think it's a two-score win by Bama, man. I don't think I think it's going to be 14 maybe 17-point win. I think it'll be tough, fought a little bit at first, but in the second half, I don't know. I just feel like Bama's going to end up pulling away a little bit in this game, and Vandy's going to leave a little bit humbled, and I'm not saying they're going to have a bad season or anything. I mean, they're already 5-0. They got one more game. They're bowl eligible. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's not. My predictions are already almost out the water before I'll admit when I'm wrong, and I said that they weren't even going to make a bowl game. Maybe it was a little bit of passion involved with that, but
Yeah.
um, at the same time, so they're going to have a successful season. But I just think with this game, um, they're going to see a little bit of separation from that yet, and a Vanderbilt program that is improving. Even last year, a lot of people were real proud of them, and I wanted to pull harder for them this year. Based off, but we've had the beef with them a little bit, with Tennessee and stuff. So if we
Yeah.
weren't Tennessee fans, we'd probably be fine with it, but
Yeah.
and be
No
pulling
doubt.
for them, honestly. And I do want to know, did Pavia ever get that date that he was wanting to get, and did Theo actually go out with Pavia's mom? Some things that we
Yeah.
never heard about after that, but
I-
that's just really random Vanderbilt news I want to know about.
no doubt.
It's so, hey, kudos to him. But but um, this game specifically, though, man, I think Bama takes it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think when you look at everything that Bama's got on their side going into this one, coming off a big win against Georgia, finding tons of momentum, really a chip on their shoulder because everyone counted them out after that Florida State loss. You add that up with the stuff that Diego Pavia's talked about, and all of this on top of all that, this is like the cherry on top, the icing on the cake, so to speak. This is actually a revenge game for Alabama.
Yeah,
Vanderbilt took them down last year at home. So now Vandy comes to Tuscaloosa. It's just the writing's on the wall for me. I think you're going to see. I'll just say I'm definitely taking I'm definitely taking Bama to cover the spread on this one at 10.5. I think it's going to be much higher. I'm in two, maybe three scores potentially, and I'm
yeah,
not saying that they're just going to dominate them in every phase, but I mean it's like you said. I think it's going to be an awakening and kind of like a humbling experience for old Pavia. I really do.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
Bama handles them with ease.
Yeah, I was gonna say the program is worlds different now, but
Mm.
I don't think they're quite there to win this caliber. But hey, kudos to them all, man. They've got the you know obviously College Game Day showing up and at Bama for this one and stuff. And I seen some stat. I should have wrote it down or something, but it was like, I don't know if it was like the game of the week with Vandy like being involved like this in Bama. It was like way back for something like this has happened.
Yeah,
So, you know, exciting still for them,
yeah.
and everything. But I
Not
definitely have to agree with you.
yeah, not to take away from their win last year, but I mean, Vandy had that surprise sneak attack factor in last year.
Yeah,
Not saying it was a fluke or anything like that. So don't misquote me
yeah,
on that, anyone listening. But there was that sneak attack, come up from behind and punch you right in the mouth factor.
yeah,
Okay, now Vandy's front and center. So
yeah.
it's not really, you know what I'm saying? That sneak attack factor is just not
It's,
there anymore.
it's
So
not an
they're just going
overlooked
to be
game
playing
on the
football.
schedule.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, be an exciting game. So there's definitely some notable games this week. Kind of getting into the one that we had such a tough time really deciding whether what deserved to be game of the week or not.
Oh,
Miami is going to Florida State. So that's number 3 Miami versus number 18 Florida State at Florida State.
yep.
Um, I think this game's going to be closer personally,
Oh yeah.
and than the other game. Even though we labeled the other one game of the week, we're more excited for that one. Um, I mean, Miami has been playing great, but I don't know what it is, man. I think, it could go one or the other way. Florida State can let that loss keep them down and just,
True.
ruin their season. But I think Florida State might come back ready for a little bit of, just some to make up for that last week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that might have made them. I mean, if I was on that team, that would have just pissed me off. I'd be ready to get out there and
Yep.
and play hard. And now you got a chance to take down number 3 Miami. It's at
Mm-hmm.
Florida State.
Yep.
These two teams, I'm sure in state, there's probably some type of rivalry with that. With the in-state rivalry. I know Florida and Florida State always have a big one, but I'd say Miami and Florida State, same conference. This is
Yep.
a huge game, man. And
Oh yeah.
honestly, if Florida State wins this game, there's not much standing in their way the rest of the year, man. To
Nope.
end up finishing the season
Scary.
out, with a one loss, and they'll be in the playoffs if that happens. So Florida State's season is not close to being done at all, and this might be one of those games where they really come prepared to play. And that being said, prediction wise, it's kind of tough. Like I said,
Yeah,
I
it
think this
is.
is a close game. This is a trap game for Miami. I don't think you can still even count this an upset too much. I mean, I guess because it's not in the top 10, they just took a loss. But you know what, man? No, Florida State's going to win this game. I'm going to
Yeah.
roll with it. Close game, close game. No blowout or nothing like that. Florida State in a close one. I'm going with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Vegas has Miami a 4.5 point favorite. You know, the way that people are talking about it and the way everybody looks at what happened last week with Florida State, you wouldn't expect the spread to be this low. A 4.5 point favorite. The number three team only being a favorite by 4.5 points is kind of crazy. I'm definitely going to be taking Florida to cover on this one for sure. I think, or Florida State rather. But I'm right there with you, man. I think that this is a perfect game for Florida State to say, you know, what happened last week happened. We're moving on from it. I think Virginia just caught them by surprise. I mean, I'm not discrediting what Virginia did.
Virginia, yeah.
Yeah, I always say that.
You're
Yeah,
good, man.
I'm not discrediting what Virginia did by any means because I mean they took them the distance. It's not like Florida State stumbled and I mean it looked like two heavyweight teams just playing against each other for four
Yeah,
quarters then some. So I definitely
yeah.
don't think it was a fluke, but Virginia definitely caught them by surprise, and
Mm.
I think that's a wake up moment for them in their season. And yeah, I think when Miami rolls into town, dude, they're going to be ready. And I'm going to take Florida State to win this one as well, dude.
And I think Virginia is going to be one of those teams this season. This season, it's a little tougher than people were expecting them to be.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a
Oh
better
yeah.
or a much better team than what they were expecting.
Yep.
So I look for Virginia to have a decent season after watched every bit of that game, and they definitely didn't play like an old Virginia team would play. You know, the
Right.
Virginia team of the last several years. So I think that factored in a little bit too, and catching them
Yeah.
by surprise. But
And if Virginia plays the way they played against Florida State for the rest of their schedule, they could win out, man. They have a very, very, very favorable schedule left. Just looking at it here, I mean, it looks like from what I can tell, Florida State was the toughest opponent on their schedule. They have no more ranked opponents whatsoever. So, I mean,
wow,
who knows? Who knows?
wow, yeah. So they
That'll be
definitely could have
interesting
a
to
pretty
see
good.
Virginia in the ACC championship game. I don't think anyone would have predicted that at the beginning of the season.
No, that would be cool. And you never, man, college football's wild, so who knows? It could definitely happen.
Yep.
Um, and then and like really outside of that, I think that's obviously the two biggest games this weekend. Um, we do have a couple more. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing Mississippi State playing at Texas A&M. Texas
Mhm.
A&M number 6 in the nation.
Yep.
I think Texas A&M is going to win this football game. Um, but I want to see how Mississippi State plays against them. Just after how they did with Tennessee, was that more of like was that more Tennessee kind of playing bad, or was some of the stuff of shooting herself in the foot and Mississippi State maybe having a good game for them, or is Mississippi State going to be a lot better than what people thought? So
Yep.
I am curious to see how they're going to respond playing Texas A&M. I do think coming off of a loss against Tennessee, like they have in hard fought game like that, then having to go into Texas A&M,
Yep.
uh, tough place to play down there. So I think Texas A&M takes this game, but I'm more of a curious thing of like how are they going to play against them?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, yeah, I agree with that totally. There's one thing that is for certain, regardless of how this game plays out, and Mississippi State is already a success story versus
Yep.
their season last year. So I mean, they could
Already won
lose
more
the
games.
they could drop every game on the rest of their schedule for the rest of the season and still have a better season than they had last year. So, uh,
Doubled their wins.
yeah,
So,
but yeah, man. I really think I think you're right. I mean, Texas A&M's a 14.5 point favorite for a reason. I mean, at home, the better team. Like you said, Mississippi State coming off the loss.
yeah,
Um, morale could be down. I mean, who knows? Some a monumental loss like that during the course of a season can either take your team one way or take you the complete opposite. You're either going to rise to the occasion or you're going to fall. So we'll just see, and that's what you're talking about, right? That's what's so interesting about this game to kind of see how they're going to respond.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't really have much else to say about that game, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, hey, I don't either. That was just mainly like something I got on my radar to look at, see how it
Yep.
goes this week. And then the other one I know we both kind of discussed that we had was number 9 Texas. Still think that's pretty high ranked, but going to going to Florida. Uh, Man, it is in the swamp. It is in
I know how
Florida,
I feel about this game, by the way.
and I do feel like Arch Manning is going to struggle down in the swamp. This isn't what Sam Houston or whatever they finally had like a good offensive game against. Um, and it's funny, man. I feel like people probably think we hate Arch
Um,
Manning. Honestly, we were high up on Texas, dude.
yeah,
I love. I mean, I'm a Tennessee fan. I love Peyton Manning. I love the Mannings. I want Arch Manning to be good. I don't
right.
want him to be better than Tennessee, but I want him. I wish him success. So, but man, he has struggled in moments this season so far to where, and like I said, yeah, he had that good game. They had their bye week, and he had a good game before that against Sam Houston. But I mean, this ain't it. Even though Florida is not playing well, Florida's
Hmm.
defense is tough. This is in the
Uh,
swamp. Um, I think this is gonna be a very tough game.
yep.
This will be one of those games that Arch Manning is either gonna have to like flip the switch a little bit and be like, all right, this is a step up game where people could like start to have a little more faith in him and think he's gonna possibly do well going forward, or Texas is gonna crumble, man. Um, That being said, Florida's offense is also atrocious. Uh, take the under on this game. It's going to be low scoring. It's going
Yeah.
to be a close game. Um, I feel like I know which way you're going to go. I think that Texas might squeak this one out, though. Don't know why. I just don't. Florida's offense has also been terrible, and
Yeah.
they're just in a
It's true.
train wreck down there as far as coaching and everything right now too. So um, that's setting up for failure. Um, I do think Texas somehow squeaks out the win because Texas also has a very dominant defense, and Lagway's probably going to throw it to him quite a bit. So
Yeah.
there might be more interceptions than touchdowns this game
Yeah.
than like actual than pass touchdowns. More that's my take on it. I want to predict more interceptions than pass touchdowns this game.
Okay. And are you
Between
talking
the
about a specific team or total game
total, like
total?
the game total combined between Texas and Florida, and this their total touchdown pass touchdowns to their total interceptions. I'm going to make a bold prediction and say that there's going to be more interceptions. I might be wrong.
That's good. Hey, I like it, man.
So maybe that's
So
not
I'm gonna
bold. I don't know. Some people might be like, that's not even a bold prediction the way those two offenses have played, but that's what I'm going to roll with.
hey, I like it, man. You could be
Yeah,
right.
me.
Um, so I'm just gonna go out and say Florida wins this game. I'm not gonna talk about spreads. I'm not gonna talk about over unders. I'm just gonna say money line outright. Florida wins this game, and I'll tell you why. Florida has been, even though their record is terrible and their offenses look atrocious, their defense is the only reason why they haven't got obliterated by multiple teams this year.
Yeah,
Um, I think Florida has hands down, not even a debate, not even a question, has had the toughest schedule so far, way tougher than Texas.
yeah,
Texas did play Texas did play Ohio State to start the season out. Obviously, you saw what happened. But Florida has played at the time number 3 LSU and at the time number 4 Miami. So you're talking about two top 5 teams that they've taken losses to. Um, they only Florida only scored a combined 17 points in those two games. But hear me out. But their defense only allowed a combined 46 points against two high caliber teams, supposedly high caliber.
yeah,
LSU's questionable. So I think when you take into consideration the talent level that they've played, the teams that they've played, although they have come out on the worst end of those 3 games, South Florida included.
hmm
Um, I just think that that makes them a little more battle ready. I think being at home in the swamp. I mean, you saw what Arch looked like at the shoe against Ohio State. What's
yeah,
he gonna do? What's he gonna do at the swamp, man? Since that game against Ohio State, he hasn't had to really put his skills to the test to do anything to get any W's. He hasn't
true.
seen the level of talent that he's going to be seeing in Florida in the swamp and just that crowd alone. Now, I don't know where the Florida fan base is right now, mentally, emotionally. I can't imagine that it's good at all. I mean, their coach is on the verge of getting fired. Their team sucks pretty much.
They
Did
were literally chanting fired.
right.
That,
So does
so
but you gotta imagine or you gotta at least think that this fan base is still gonna show up and show out for a game like this. Um, I'm just gonna say it, man. I do think Florida wins this game. I got a gut feeling about it. I think that defense is going to either make Arch look super uncomfortable and just make him make a lot of mistakes, or they're just going to get after him and just chew him up all night long. I mean,
yeah,
we'll just see what happens, man. That's why the games are played.
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a bad take at all to say that. I'm definitely on the fence with it myself, but
Hmm.
I like that we kind of have a little difference there here and
Yep.
there on some things, and we'll see who gets it on that. But yeah, going kind of touching on the fan base there. Yeah, the fan base may be in shambles, but the moment if that game starts going and Florida starts picking up momentum and that game starts going their way against a number
Hmm.
9 ranked team,
Yep.
their fans are going to be there cheering for an upset, man. Because I know if it was Tennessee,
Yep.
Tennessee fans would be right at now. They are Tennessee fans can be a little crazy. So can Florida fans, man. So
Right.
if it that momentum starts rolling and they're like, oh, we could upset this team, you're not worried about the fact that yeah, you're if you're Florida, you're not going to the playoffs, even with the win against Texas here. You're not going, to have like phenomenal season, but you got a chance at upsetting a top ranked team that's in the
Yeah.
top 10. You're definitely gonna get into the game, I think, if that gets
Yeah.
rolling. But um,
And one
so
more
yeah,
thing that I'd like to say about it is, then we can move on. You know, you can say this for both teams, really, offensively. And I think you kind of mentioned it or touched on it when we first started talking about this game. But at any point during the season, a player or an entire team or just the offensive side of a team or the defensive side of the team, all it takes is for one single moment in a game or one single play or just a different mentality in general. That's all it takes for someone to click. There's going to be a click moment either for Florida with DJ Lagway or Texas with Arch Manning. There's bound to be a click moment somewhere, whether it's this week, next week, the week
yeah,
after. I'm a true believer in that at some point, good teams or good players, in this case, I'm talking about DJ Lagway and Arch Manning, um, at a certain point, you got to think one of them's going to click, and it's all going to come to one of them at least. And I think with DJ having the success that he found at the end of last season, even though this season's been abysmal, man, it started off the worst that it could start off. There could be a click moment somewhere.
yeah,
Be on the lookout
I
for it.
agree.
You never know.
Yeah, man, and I agree with that. And I think if that click moment doesn't happen, then you can truly say they're a bust, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, then it
One
just
hundred
wasn't
percent.
there, and it just
One
wasn't
hundred
there.
percent.
But yeah. Any other games that you specifically want to talk about? I know there's not anything like really huge or anything out there.
No,
I think I'm good on.
yeah, there's only one more thing that I want to bring up about a game, and it's actually a game that I'm going to this weekend. I'm really
Uh,
excited about it. I try to take an annual trip down to Boone, North Carolina to watch App State Mountaineers play every year. Try to take an annual trip down there. So I'm going down there, and they're taking on the Oregon State Beavers. Now Oregon State is a good team historically. I mean they put up a good fight against a lot of people. They've knocked off people. They've upsetted people in the past. This year, however, they are struggling. I think that they're 0-4, maybe 0-5. Are they 0-4 or 0-5? I can't remember.
I think they might be 0-5. Now their last game um, was a close game and a loss to
Yeah,
a Houston who hadn't lost. So I mean, I don't know how they've. And of course, Oregon struggled with them a little bit at first, but then took care of them. But
right. Yeah, so okay, they are 0-5. I just looked it up. So 0-5, going to Boone, North Carolina to play App State. Man, I'm really excited about going down there. Last year when I went, it was freezing cold. There was probably 7 to 8 inches of snow on the ground everywhere, which was kind
awesome.
of cool. I'll be honest with you. Um, App State is actually favored in this game by a point and a half. So I'm
Hey,
going down there. I've never seen App State lose at a game that I've personally been to. So hopefully they'll continue that, and hopefully the Mountaineers can get a W over Oregon State. That's traveling completely across the entire country to come to Boone, North
come
Carolina.
on. Hey, Boone's a cool little place, though, man.
Awesome.
I hate I can't be going down to that, man. I'll be working this weekend, but you're gonna have a
Yeah.
blast, dude. That's gonna be cool. And it has to be. I know you went to them in the past. Just a cool atmosphere, um,
Yep.
down there in App State, and cool stadium, man, too. Like looking at
Oh yeah.
seeing
I'm
just
gonna try to
the
get
whole
some
area.
I'm gonna try to get a little bit of content if that's something that the viewers would be interested in seeing. Might try to get a little content while I'm down there, record some stuff. Maybe I don't know. It just depends on how it goes and how I feel.
I mean,
But
a
that might
fan
be
base that has pulled for Joey before, so it's cool,
that's
to
the
see.
interesting dynamic with it too this year. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. I think I think it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. So yeah, you'll definitely get the whole football experience. there on Saturday. It's always cool when you're going to be in a stadium, be in a game. Um, Kind of rolling into it then if we don't have any other games. This was a tough thing, man. Tough
Mm,
topic to pick from. And, we always do our top five SEC. I guess we
I
call them
know.
power rankings. It's a little bit of, I think we use a little bit of emotion and a little bit of actual stats and how they play.
Yep.
And we do these week to week because they can they can change drastically, man. But for yeah, you might have a team that's not even in the top five hop in. You might have a team that's was up or kind of higher up, bounce out. So it this week was tough. Though I will say this has been like one of the Bama just beating Georgia and doing the way like going in there and beating them just threw a wrench into everything. I just messed up all my plans for this, but
It destroyed my top five.
just destroyed it. And I'm gonna let I know a lot of times I end up going first. I'm gonna let you go first on this, man. Give me your
Okay.
top five SEC.
Yeah. Like you said, dude, and we even talked about this in Tuesday's episode, just how when we were discussing that top 25 AP, we were talking about how difficult and almost impossible to come up with the top five. But
Yeah.
in our defense, our top fives will change every week.
Hmm.
I don't know how you approach it, but I approach it based off what I saw that week from these teams.
Yeah.
And I take into consideration their resume as well and what they've done to this point. But overall, I think it's kind of like a gut feel week by
Yeah.
week. So, with that being said, um, a team that a team that has not made it to my I don't think they've made it to any of my previous top fives. I'll have to look at it. No, this is a team that hasn't been in my top five yet so far this entire season. They have made it to my top five, and not only have they made it to my top five, but they went all the way to the number one spot. And it might be a little crazy, and it might be just a quick reaction and all that stuff. But I've got the Ole Miss Rebels. They climbed all the way to the top at my number one position, kind of dethroning. They didn't beat Bama, or they didn't beat Georgia, but they dethroned Georgia as my number one spot for the SEC. If you look, and I didn't do it because of this, but Ole Miss is the only team to have 3 games with 3 wins against SEC opponents. The only other team that's had 3 games against SEC teams is 1-2, and that's South Carolina.
Yeah.
So far, Ole Miss is undefeated in the SEC. That's not the only reason I put them in there. I think their big time win against LSU speaks volumes to what they've got going on. Um, yeah, I've got Ole Miss number one. Number two, I still have Tennessee holding down that number two spot. I think when you factor in how tough they played against Georgia, and we don't take moral victories. We've said it before. We'll continue to say it. We don't believe in moral victories, but if there's any such thing as a good loss, that's the closest thing you can get to a good loss.
Hmm.
I'm a firm believer, and I think everyone would agree with me. Tennessee should have won that game, so that's where I'm putting them at number two. And the tough win against Mississippi State on the road in overtime. I mean, it's hard to pull out overtime wins, especially on the road. It's hard to win on the road in the SEC, regardless.
Yeah.
But to pull out an overtime win in a hostile environment on the road in the SEC was another reason why I left them at number two. Plus, there might be a little bias sprinkled in. Um, Number three, another team that hasn't been on my top five at all this year so far, and that's Bama. I've got Bama sliding up to number three. Their resume hasn't really been all that great until this past weekend, man. I think beating Georgia on the road, um, aside from Florida State beating Alabama week one, I think Bama beating Georgia on the road might be the biggest win so far this season. And I don't want to take away from the Oregon win over Penn State last weekend because that's a huge
Yeah.
win on the road
That's
as
huge.
well.
Yeah.
But keeping it SEC, since we're talking about top five SEC, I think Bama's win on the road against Georgia is easily the most impressive win in the SEC so far this year. So that's why I've got Bama sitting there at number three. Number four, This is where it started to get kind of tricky. Three through five was a little tricky for me. But number four, I've got little brother sitting there, Vandy. I mean, I'm not going to discredit anything that they've done so far this season. I'm super impressed with what they've accomplished. Um, they just keep winning, man, and they look good, and they have an opportunity to prove it even further this weekend. So, got Bama sitting at number four, and then my final spot. It might be kind of crazy to drop a team from one to five, but it's even crazier, I think, putting a team that wasn't in my top five at number one. So, I dropped Georgia down to number five. I kind of struggled with, should I put Texas A&M in? I don't feel like I can kick Georgia all the way out just because they lost to Bama in a tight game. So I'm keeping Georgia in there at number five until proven otherwise. But that's my top five, man. Ole Miss, Tennessee, Bama, Vandy, Georgia. I
Nice,
struggled hard
man.
with that, dude.
Yeah,
Struggled hard with it.
tough, man. And I even listening to yours makes me question some of mine. But I try to do a mix of like that week, but I do a lot of like looking in how the season's going to this point too. I think
Yeah.
um, my top five SEC, man. My number one, I had Ole Miss.
Hey,
Really did. I put Ole Miss, and the reason, man, like you said, getting the big win over LSU, but also being 5-0, 3-0 in the SEC.
speaks
So a
for
little
itself.
bit, even though they've kind of slowly been there, I'm trying to remember if I put them at my number five spot or had them like in there somewhere in my last one. I'd have to look and see, to be honest. But Ole Miss has been a team that's kind of been on the radar there, doing really well. Then when they
Yep.
beat LSU and jumping into that top 10, I was like, all right, they've earned it right now to this point for this week.
Yep.
My number two spot, it's hard for me to bring them out of not even in my top five, but I put Bama at number two. Um, and man, Bama had snuck back up in my mental list of like outside of the top five a little bit recently. I think more
Yeah.
so, um, for me than you had kind of like had them on there, but it had started to sneak back up a little bit. But when they beat Georgia like they did in Georgia, right now, based off this week with a little bit of
True.
stuff going on, I stuck them at two.
True.
Um, my number three, and that sucks because I did move Tennessee back, even though Tennessee won. Um, moving them back. Man, I still kept Georgia at number three. This hurts because I know I'm moving Tennessee back.
Not
This is going to change week to week, man. It'll play out how it's supposed to. But I
honestly,
moved.
yours is probably right, man. Honestly, if you really think
Man,
about it.
I got super technical in trying to think of all this, but Georgia lost to Bama, yes, but they lost by 3 points. Still a hard fought game, and maybe not
Yep.
even like Georgia didn't seem as ready for this game. So, you know,
Yeah.
um, I just think that Bama's kind of got their number a little bit. So I didn't want to drop them too far. I just kind of took Georgia from one to three there. I needed to put them, I feel like, ahead of Tennessee right now at this point.
Yep.
So even though Tennessee won, and I was very happy with it, and they showed a lot of tough grit to never give up on that team, it was
Yep.
Mississippi State that they went to overtime
True.
with. So I
True.
dropped Tennessee to four in my four spot there. I didn't want to drop them too much because they did win, and it was a tough game and a tough win. So I'll give them that. And my number five spot is Texas A&M. Going into my round out my top five. Sixth ranked in the nation right now. Um, I just think that was going to round out that. I will say I've got Vandy sitting there at my sixth spot to try to get in. Vandy hasn't got in mine yet. I know maybe people are like, oh, he's just hating on Vandy. Vandy's got every opportunity to prove whether they're going to be in
Right.
my top spot or not this coming weekend. So, again, it all plays itself out, but we do this week to week. So these change. Um, the one
Yep.
that hurt me the most was dropping Tennessee from two to four. To give you an idea of how difficult this is, I wanted to keep Tennessee at two and I almost did. But then I started thinking of the Alabama beat Georgia. Georgia had beat Tennessee,
Yeah.
and we're looking at right now, and then Tennessee struggled with Mississippi State. I just want to
Yeah.
I feel like I got to explain that to my fellow
It
Tennessee
makes
fans out there,
it
but
makes I mean, realistically, dude, it makes way more sense than me keeping him at number two, to be honest with you.
that's just like when you were talking, it was making me question. That's how hard this is this week, man. Because
It
like I
was
feel like
so difficult.
we're both sitting there questioning it, So again, I mean, we both had Ole Miss #1, which is cool. But yeah, Ole Miss 1, Bama 2, Georgia 3, Tennessee 4, Texas A&M 5.
Yep.
And that kind of rounds out that top five for me there. Um,
And I'm afraid that we're going to be faced with this difficulty every week for the rest of the season.
I think so with these
That's
tough
how
SEC
wild it's going to
games.
get.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's gonna get real tough. And we're just gonna have to make those tough decisions and roll with it and stick to it. So, um,
Yep.
good thing is about this, it'll change again next week. So, but
Yeah.
you know, so it's definitely interesting to see how we rank those. I like because we don't talk about this. I mean, we really, like
Right.
we've said this in the past. We truly most of these things we don't discuss. So we're
No.
getting to see each other talk about this live, and it's really cool to see. Um, on that. Something I do want to mention too, if you want to continue seeing that, you're someone that's listening to us, you want to keep checking out our top five SEC, make sure to like and subscribe, on our YouTube videos there. Follow us on TikTok. That's, we can put a lot of our shorts out on that, just kind of random topics. I know how people are. They like the little short, quick turnaround videos, and that's cool too, man.
Hmm.
That we post on that too for you guys, for the people who don't, um, going forward in the future here, at some point, I know we would like to, I think be on like Spotify, some things that because I think some of those longer videos people really like to listen to.
Yeah.
So if someone wants us to go on that, let us know if you think that would be, maybe we are ready to start posting on that. But it's
Yeah.
something like in the future I think we'd like to do. But yeah, let us know what you think. On who's your top five, each week,
Hmm.
if you're an SEC fan and or just a fan in general of college football. You don't have to be an SEC fan to have a top five of that. Um, but yeah, anything, Adam, that you think you want to add, kind of on this? You got
Nah,
anything
man. Just
clear on your
yeah.
mind there
Just
for this going into this week?
yeah. Everything's good, man. Like Mike said, just go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. Share our content. Spread the word. We're going to try to grow this thing as big as we can. We're trying to put together some things for the future, talking about different things, including, like Mike said, putting the audio on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that stuff. So just continue to follow us on this journey.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, have fun at that App State game this weekend. It's gonna be really cool. As always, man, this has been a blast. And Adam, I'll see you, dude.
All right, brother. Take care, man.